yeah.
Hello,
Oh,
hello,
we're both
hello.
so colorful.
We're so color coordinated.
Isn't
Look at
that
that.
interesting?
Love that.
I know. I love the color you're wearing too. Isn't that funny that we both just decided to wear a pop of color? Because it's funny. I literally was looking in two different shirts, black and this one.
Nice. Peach or coral and raspberry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Peaches and raspberry and peaches.
Yummy. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've been running around all day today. Just going around the city, going for lunch, hanging out with friends, and it's been very nice.
Jeez, that sounds pretty nice.
Well, and applying the jobs and confirming first and second interviews as well. So it's been a mishmash of many different things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how are you?
Fine. I was just realizing that I've been in this particular office room space all day. So it's like, kind of ready to burst out. And I was going to go for a lovely, Rachel, no, Canadian, don't talk about the weather. Don't talk about weather.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
Nope, stop myself. We won't go there. But
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. That's too funny. So I've got some first and second job interviews, and so I'm hoping for in the next 6 to 8 weeks, if not sooner, that I'll finally have a job, and it'll be a job that I want to have.
Yay. You will. You're manifesting it already. I know you are.
Thank you.
Speaking of manifestations, I think that you manifested our guest to come on probably at some point. The guest that we're having on today.
Our guest today is going to be so much fun to talk to, and I feel very privileged to be able to have them in our show and on our podcast. Geoffrey Mac is a very talented queer fashion designer and advocate in the queer community, living in New York, and also season 18's winner of Project Runway on Bravo. And really such an incredible designer, very similar aesthetic to what I used to wear and want to still wear if I could afford it. Avant-garde, highly conceptual streetwear.
I was looking up Geoffrey's portfolio, and holy Toledo. Did you know that Geoffrey designed some pieces for, I don't know how many pieces or what they were exactly. I should have looked further into this, but for the Monster Ball tour of Lady Gaga,
yes,
really?
Yes.
Really? And then I started to dive a little deeper, and Geoffrey's main, I guess, not texture, but fabric, loving the latex. I believe that's kind of like a signature thing, perhaps.
A lot of latex and
a lot of latex stuff, and I love, oh my God. And I've already just seen my dream dress.
Yes. Perfect.
And I've always wanted to be decked out in latex.
Yes.
This is like a thing I've said to even Adriano, I'm like, I've never worn like a latex. It was like just a freaking form-ass fitting dress or a cat suit or something like that.
Oh my God.
Oh, so sexy.
Oh, you know what though? part of me wants to save this, but I'll repeat it again because it's a fun story. So when I was 18 and I just turned 18, I was in Gastown, which is a part of downtown Vancouver, for those that don't know, one of the older parts of the area. And so they're online, but they at the time had a brick and mortar shop called Deadly Couture, which is essentially all bondage, latex, kinkwear, toys and stuff, and they had a lot of latex and bondage wear. I wanted to buy a pair of shorts, and so I bought the 2-inch or 1-inch high, 1-inch inseam platinum silver gunmetal boy shorts with suspenders that were like an inch strap that went over. And I swear I came down the stairs in my 2.5-inch Flubog silver heels with those shorts on. And I was like, I'm having my Tom of Finland moment, not knowing who the hell Tom of Finland was at the time. And my parents saw me and they're like,
Hold on.
That's our boy.
Okay, wait. Rewind a little bit. Rewind. Because you just threw the parents in there. Okay, hold on. You walked down the stairs.
So
you bought it?
I bought the shorts.
Okay, you know what I was imagining? I was imagining you're trying it on and you're walking down some sort of steps from the change room, like you're still in the store, and you're trying things, and I'm like, yes, okay, this is awesome. But no, you're talking about it. Then you went back home, put it on, and you did a show for like a fashion show for your parents.
Yeah, I did. It was essentially like, instead of, it wasn't during prom, but that idea, you know, instead of prom wearing a big fluffy floofy gown or ball gown, I'm coming down, strutting my stuff with these 2.5-inch John Fluvog silver heels, shout out, and these PVC shorts. So like bare everything I was showing. And I'm telling you, they were like literally right up to the hip crease.
Oh, wow.
That's how high they were. They were hot shorts. Like I was going go-go dancing and topless, and these straps and suspenders over my shoulders. And I was just like, my parents, it was so funny seeing their reaction. And they were saying, that's our boy.
Yeah.
That's our son.
But you know what I love? Like they weren't concerned about any potential reactions you might get, or they were totally accepting of it. Like they know you were going out. You're going out like that.
No, that's the thing though. I bought these, and I preface, I'm not planning to wear these ever. I might not even wear them, but I felt so confident. I could fit them, and I wanted to know that I had them.
Yes.
So for years, I kept them, even in my current apartment for years. And at some point I just recycled them or gave it to the gay and bisexual men's HIV and AIDS center, because I knew someone was going to wear those and love them. So
oh man, we need to really dress up and do something super fun.
Yes. Well, you know what? There actually in July, the Vancouver Fetish weekend is happening if you want to go and get dressed up.
Or even because this is what we were talking about the last podcast episode, which hasn't aired yet, which hopefully I'll get out before this one. We were talking about Pride and about Vancouver Pride, which is happening not till August. So maybe there's some sort of event there too, perhaps.
I think there's going to be a lot of fun events.
I mean,
now that, you know, humanity is now doing whatever the hell they want to do for events and gatherings and community, there's certainly a lot of things that can be done that we could do if you wanted.
Interesting.
In July and August for sure. I mean, it depends on when you're going to come down next.
Yeah, exactly. Latex in the summer. Yikes.
Or we could or I could come up and I could be the entire Pride Parade in Vernon.
Oh, we have, you know what? There's more of a community definitely than you might think. And it's cool because I just being on Instagram, I'm really, trying to reach out there and following lots of people in the community that are part of that particular community in Vernon, Kelowna. It's, it's not, out there necessarily, but it's definitely there. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Especially in Kelowna. Yeah. There's actually, there's a queen. Oh, actually, speaking of Kelowna, there's a queen, Frida Wales. And I think we talked about her before, but she's actually doing a lead wine tour. I know you don't drink, but even it could be super fun because she's doing these like in a bus, like she's the driver, wine tours with, her as a drag queen going. I don't know if she'll be doing like some lip syncing or singing or karaoke in the van. I don't know, but that sounds like a blast. Sounds like heaven.
Yeah.
That sounds heaven. But even things like a drag brunch, I've only been to one drag brunch, which is recently and by fluke in Victoria. Yeah. And also drag bingo I've never been to, which I think you said you have done drag bingo in Vegas you went to, right?
Yes, off the strip and like, real Vegas with I swear we were some of the only out of towners in that entire venue because it was not something that was publicized to, tourists and stuff like that. It was so much fun. And these
I know
talent.
So much
fun.
And one thing I want to segue back to Geoffrey. I'm so excited. This is the first time
we've had. It sound like a cat.
Oh no, that's my front door opening.
Almost sound like a meow.
I know. So I think this is the first person we've had on the show that is from the Project Runway series or franchise.
That's true.
And what I love about that is because Project Runway was a show that really inspired myself to go down the fashion career path. It was the first show that I watched when I was 13 or 14, whenever it came on. I saw people that were anywhere from the age of, 19 to 60 all grouped together had either self-training or professional training and education that also went to become successful designers and compete just like anyone else would. Whereas other professions and industries seem to be at that time more cookie cutter of what you have to make things successful or even be considered to be worthy. So you'd have these people in finales or in final fives that you had like a 60-year-old who was a stay-at-home mom that had a fashion from home. And then you would have a 25-year-old fashion grad student or undergrad student who had just designed their first collection. You just get this random assortment. So I thought, that's where I belong. I belong in the fashion industry and I'm going to be a fashion designer. And that's what set up all the other stuff from the retail side to the merchandising, the styling, anything with clothing and product. And now that show planted a seed for me to become in the fashion industry that I'm now today.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Now, do you think that show have they continued along on that trend of, bringing on contestants that are from all walks of life? Like I actually haven't seen it for quite a long time. Is it still on?
It's still on. So I don't know if we'll talk about it with Geoffrey a lot or not. But about his experience for sure. But in terms of the dynamic and the structure of the show, yes, they are definitely still very diverse in their casting and people of all walks of life, and fashion does that. I think more than anything, like Top Chef and especially now Survivor and Project Runway, they're bringing people of all walks of life, culturally, fashion-wise, personality, age, level of education, where they live in the world. You have a lot of people that are, residents or natives from other countries, and the people that are being spotlighted. It's just so cool to see the way that the show has evolved with the times. Even after the 16th season finished, a show took a hiatus and came back, and it was started getting produced by Christian Siriano, who was the 4th season winner and the poster child basically for the franchise of like, I won the show and I am now like a multi-million-dollar brand. My God,
he's done insanely well. Yeah, absolutely. And like I even know who that is.
Like he's matured incredibly well. And so he is now the mentor for the designers instead of Tim Gunn. He replaced Tim Gunn as their mentor. So then you get this someone like, I've been through what you've been through. I know what it's like. So the relatability factor is so real. And he's younger and can't be in his early 30s. So
that's why we love Chef Christina on Hell's Kitchen, because it's the same dynamic, right? It's the same kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God. Hello.
Sexy lighting.
No kidding.
Hi.
I love it.
My computer's not working, so I'm going to do it on my phone.
Oh, okay. No problem. Not a problem. That's totally fine. No, it's perfect.
It's okay.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely perfect.
Am I too far away?
No, you look fantastic. You do you, whatever works.
Can hardly see. That's all good.
How are you doing, Geoffrey?
I'm good. Just, tired from the workday, but good.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, you've been up to a lot. Thank you for joining us, because you were saying you got something right after this too.
Oh yeah, it's another Zoom just with a client. So some sketches and stuff. So
my goodness.
Yeah. Normally not so late, but yeah, it all landed back to back. So it's all good.
No, that's okay. I really appreciate that you were able to come on to the show and could get in touch with us and to respond back. And I know it's been a bit that we've been chatting, but yeah, I look up to you so much and admire everything you've done. So it's great to have you on just for a real sincere dialogue about any direction you want to go in. We are happy to take it in. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like it's low. I want to raise it.
Sure.
Sorry. I feel like I'm all looking down or something weird. Okay, let's see if this is any better.
A heavenly force.
You should see. Yeah, that's great. It's good.
Actually, it's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You should see what my laptop is sitting on. My laptop is sitting on currently, which Hero might know this from us doing so many episodes together, but it's sitting on, actually got them in New York City at the Sex Museum. The big book of breasts 3D and the big penis book 3D. So that's what my that's what my
that's the big penis book. My interns were just looking at it with the glasses on.
Yeah. Great party favorite, right?
Yeah. Staple. Everybody loves it.
No, absolutely. So we did a little introduction about you, just kind of how, for our listeners and viewers, once they see this recording, just kind of how we know about you and what my connection was to you, and obviously where you might have been known more by the audiences that found you from there. But we'd love our guests to do their own introduction. There's no set script or whatever, but however you want to open up, and then we can kind of just dive in from there, super candid.
Sure. You just want me to go at it?
Yeah, go at it.
We're very raw, candid, unscripted.
Awesome. Same.
Yeah.
So yes, hi, I'm Geoffrey Mac. I won Project Runway season 18, and I'm a designer in Bushwick, Brooklyn. I've been in Brooklyn 17 years. I think of myself as more of an artist, and I'm an empath, and I just love making stuff.
Perfect. Nice and sincere. We can relate to the empath side for sure. We are both very heart-based, feelers, true, like no filter. We don't have time for that type of stuff. And we love people that are like-minded in that way. I guess one of the great things to kind of tap into as well is what inspired you to start getting into art and design, wherever it might have been in your life. How did that all come about so far?
Let's see. Yeah, I guess I first knew I was really good, like probably second grade. There was an art competition at a hardware store, which is really funny that this is like the thing that I first know. And you could be from any school anywhere and submit it to the hardware store, and they had 20 things, and I won with some like yarn and glue thing that was just really good. Like my mom still has it. It's good. And I won, and I could choose anything, and I chose a flashlight. Have no idea, but it was kind of at that moment that I was like, I'm good at stuff. And and then fashion was God, what was her name? Jane Child. She had the nose ring and all the like the trench coat and the long braids, and she had a video just walking through New York, and she was like spinning around in a trench coat and some boots and shit, and I just thought she was like the coolest, baddest bitch ever, and I just knew I really wanted to do something with style. But it was kind of that moment that I sort of became obsessed with, like, what is that? Like, she's so cool, but it's just how she looks, and her song was good, but it was that like her look, like all the shit all put together was amazing. So it was kind of that moment for style for me, I guess. And then just going to art school, and I got scholarships and stuff, and just kind of kept the feeling of like I'm actually good at these things going. And then I guess knowing I wanted to do pattern making wasn't really until college, but I realized that back in school I was terrible at math, but like D's and C's if I really like fought for it. But when it came to geometry, I just got A+ without studying. And so it's something about like how my brain kind of fits together shapes and pieces and percentages and all of that all just kind of fell together, and I was a really good pattern maker kind of right off the bat, and just really loved like 3D stuff. So
that's cool. It almost sounds like, was there anything else, any other prospects career wise that intrigued you back then? Or was it like a lot of people we talked to, the really creative mindsets, or really down to their freaking blood and soul, it's like that's all they kind of ever knew. Was that kind of similar to you? Was there something else that
I mean, like I got the Scholastics Award for painting and drawing at the School of Art Institute. So I ended up going to school there because I got the tuition and stuff. So that was good. And so and then when I went to school, I was doing photography quite a bit, kind of got into that. And then I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and they don't let you get into the fashion department for the first year. So you're kind of encouraged to take some of everything. So I was really into like sculpture and 3D art and video and photography. And I took a shoemaking class, and I was really good at that. And then I started the department and just kept doing really well. So it's kind of like fashion kind of took a hold of me a bit in school, because you had to kind of commit to the fashion department. So in the core of me, I'm just an artist, just period. I like making stuff. I like anything creative. I love interiors, furniture,
lighting.
Just everything.
Lighting.
Yeah, lighting. So yeah, it was hard. And, I often wonder if fashion's all that I'm really meant to do, but it's kind of where I'm at right now. So
thank you so much for sharing all that and kind of giving but giving that encapsulation of self-expression, and I can relate with that a lot, because growing up for myself, I've always, and so today, if I can't express myself in some way, shape, or form, then life doesn't have purpose. So for people that are empaths and that are creative and expressive, we need some kind of medium, some kind of portal, and that can change through time, even if there's a root of something, whether if it is painting, if it is fashion, if it is food. But I think more than ever now, through this feeling of being in COVID and in a sense of inclusion or being drawn in or locked down, we are turned so much to get out and express. What was it like for yourself in the last couple of years, either way, as you kind of had to adapt to your industry or to your profession and to keeping creative, and what were some of those dynamics that came through?
During COVID?
Yeah.
I lost my partner at the beginning of COVID. So it was 2 weeks after I won, he died of COVID. And so,
Jesus Christ.
So,
I'm so sorry.
I spent like 9 months in bed. So I was lucky to have, the time to kind of be alone and sit with my feelings and recover. So I didn't really, I eventually started a collection. It was really hard to work on during COVID because, I just was still a mess and really trying to turn it out and trying to like get back on the map a bit because of after Project Runway, everybody's waiting for my next line and all of that. So I kind of miserably struggled through it. But towards the end of the collection, I kind of started to get inspired. But the end of a collection, you're kind of done designing and that type of thing. But I liked it. But it was the time I just really was lucky to kind of have alone. And I was raised a military brat, so I'm really used to being alone. And I enjoy my own company. We moved sometimes twice a year. So like college was my 16th school. So I was lucky that I have the skill set to like enjoy my own company and watch TV and lay in bed and I honestly probably couldn't have worked anyway during that time. So for me, the silver lining was like having the time to myself. So
and almost have had that, weird way to say it, but training, so to speak, from your background, your upbringing to bring you to where you are. And I did not know that, so I'm terribly sorry for your loss. Man, I can't, these past couple of years, man, like it's just it's insanity. But it's very inspiring to see you now and just what you're doing now and how much you've pulled yourself, into living. And it's all, but life is a work in progress always. That's okay. I think when that's okay. I think when life stops being a work in progress, something's wrong. I actually truly believe that.
I've been practicing strength and and I guess we're talking a bit about mental health. Like I recently, during that time, I've smoked a lot of weed since I was like, started at like 14 or whatever, and just kind of like ramped up because I was trying to quit smoking cigarettes and all of that during that time. And so recently I've gone sober and I'm on day 52 of absolute sobriety. No more Xanax, no more of my antidepressants, no more of anything at all, because I've been on something nonstop since I was 14, and I just haven't really like even met myself yet. So
we can relate.
Make it to day 90, and supposedly that's as close as you can come to like meeting who you truly are. And so I'm excited for that, because it's like the medical field has kind of just drowned me in substances because I've been an empath and I can't necessarily control my own emotions enough that it's always sort of, the answer's always been to like medicate it,
or to dull it, or
dull it, kind of bring it all to the medium and not hit the highs and the lows. And it's normal for me since I was a child to just like cry for like a good song or a bad song. It's or just emotions, just period, whether good or bad, make me tear. And that's just been so many years of drowning that out. And I think that's what I was used to doing as well during COVID and, you know, having some massive loss. And, you know, I'm trying to just kind of fight to be the best person that I've ever been. You know, so yeah. So my partner had gone sober for a while when we first started dating. We were together just 2 years, and you know, I have the opportunity to at least give that a shot in this life, and still have the time. So
100%.
You know, I'm just excited about that because yeah, just every week's better. I mean, there's highs and lows and a lot of frustration, but that's going really well, and I'm very excited to come out the other side of this because I was just really tired of it's on like 20 different meds. So like I just saw my doctor the other day and she's like, you on this. I'm like, none of it, you know. It feels really good. But also steer clear of all the crap that the pharmaceutical companies up to with the sickness, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that is, sorry, Hero, pipe in. I just have to say how brave that is because you know, when I talk about medication and on this podcast, stuff like that too, we're very open to say we both take something. I take one thing, but it's still like, I don't know if it's a scary thing to go off of medication because of meeting, you know, who you truly are. Is that the fear, or is it the fear that, I don't know, or is it the fear that like you're not, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it was just I guess a fear of my emotions and not being able to like get out of that, and always having an instant way to deal with them. It's like when I get really angry, I just like get high or take a Xanax, and that was just life. You know, I've been on Xanax for like 25 years and never really had a problem with it. Well, I mean, I did early on, and then I realized like what you need to do with meds like that. But you know, and I've been on antidepressants that saved my life. I've smoked a lot of weed at times that has definitely saved my life. I've done certain other drugs that have definitely saved my life. Some like really, really bad times where there weren't any other options. And you know, drugs can be a blessing at the right moment. You know, I'm just kind of at that point where, you know, I just need to kind of take it all away and start over and see who's underneath it all. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons, you know, medically to take stuff and all of that, but just everything I was on just at the end of the day just really felt so optional. And, you know, even like a heart med I was supposed to be on forever ago, I stopped taking it and then saw different doctors, and I'm fine. I don't know why they said I had to be on it the rest of my life and that type of thing, you know?
Right.
Sometimes you kind of need second opinions about what's going on and to kind of tap into yourself and fight for the best you.
And the right support. So I'm glad that you said that, because for those that are listening, it is important, you know, even though I know Geoffrey's talking about, you know, coming off all these medications and it's not a walk in the park, and I shouldn't just assume anything, but I hope you have support. And I just want everyone else to know out there, it's not something like, don't just stop taking your meds.
Had a lot of support. And like they switched my medication because of how depressed I was. And like I was on Wellbutrin and Prozac, like pretty high dosage.
And on both of those.
It started with a stutter, and then my stutter kind of became a bit of a twitch, and then the twitch kind of got me like locked into it and told my doctor, and it was the beginning of seizures. And so I had to stop them abruptly. And that was kind of the beginning of a wake up for me about like, that was kind of the end of my rope with, you know, antidepressants, and I've tried a lot of them. And, you know, I just needed to kind of see what would happen if I could kind of find a different strength rather than, you know, my constant amount of smoking weed, which, you know, I'm very pro weed. I think it's a really amazing thing. It's been great for me my entire life. It's just the amount that I ended up smoking was just so much, and I couldn't even imagine, you know, life without it. And I just didn't like that, and I wasn't happy. And you know, it's been really difficult. But yes, I have lots of help and counseling and you know, friend support, and I have a couple other friends that are sober, and so that's made it a little bit easier to have people to call when I'm really going through it, which for the first 30 days was absolutely insane. I never thought it'd be that difficult. And it was. So yes, definitely you need to have a strong support system to do something like this. It was harder to do than Project Runway. And Project Runway definitely really tried my willpower in this world, to say the least. But this was just such a daily normal thing. And, I do think it's great. And it was great for me for lots of years. I'm just turned 45. And, I just am trying to see what's life's like on the other side of all this.
Yeah. Well, again, I know I said this already, but again, thank you for being so vulnerable and willing to share.
You're welcome.
And to be, no, it's a lot. And I think people don't give enough, like part of my purpose on this earth is to validate people, and for good reason, and not just to blow smoke up their ass. And you are one reason I want you on the show is because that's who you are. The way that you are on the show sometimes can be misperceived, or it can come off in a way where you're there for the camera, and you never were. Yeah. I've seen enough reality shows and every fucking episode of Project Runway and all their knockoffs, every reality show on the fucking planet. So I know how to spot real people when they're on these shows, and they're just there to be themselves and to do what they love to do. So this is a great example of what you just shared. This is going to inspire and help those that who do already not know about you to actually help to bring awareness to mental health, substance abuse and addictions. And as Rachel was speaking of, I've been on anxiety and depression medication since maybe it was 6 or 7. I grew up with neurodiversity, NVLD for short, and grew up with major chronic anxiety and other quirks and learning disabilities. And without medication, my brain would not be able to function as optimally as it could. Whereas those who are neurotypical, they don't have those same kind of dynamics as other folks like us do, who are autistic or dyslexic or anything like that. So I tried to go off my meds with the help of my naturopath back about 2013, and I tapered off 10 milligrams at a time from Prozac. And it's called something different, but that's what it was. And it was extremely intense, even though it was tapered off 10 milligrams at a time. When I went off fully, I actually went through in a major withdrawal, and I did feel suicidal, but I could never inflict self-harm, but I was suicidal, and legitimately I was crying every single moment of the day that I was awake. I had no buffer. I had no ability to have protection from anything around me. I'd cry at the most random auditions for America's Got Talent or the X Factor, things where I'm like, oh my God. But those little things, you look at a puppy and you're like, oh my God, that is like, I feel so depressed, but I'm so happy to see that puppy walking down the street. So when you highlighted that, just getting to know your real self, it gets so intense and hyperbolized, right? And so ultimately I had to taper up to only half of what my max was. But my point is, the fact you are going through the process of trying that, exploring it, and knowing that you can have that discernment and the support around you, it makes all the difference. And how powerful that is, especially with what you've been through in the last few years with that too, right?
I mean, and more power to you to try it now, especially after all the stuff you've been through, like someone might say, well, hey, maybe this isn't the best time. Maybe you want to wait a bit, but I mean, and you've probably heard that from multiple people, perhaps.
Yes, I mean, and just life in general, and trying, we're working on a new collection now, and it's just been a lot. And we just started doing custom again, but I think ultimately, I owe it to my partner that passed, just because I have the opportunity to do it, and I got his chair from his sobriety. He saved all this money because there was this womb chair that he'd always wanted, and he bought it for himself as his throne, as like his sober throne, to just prove to himself as a constant reminder. So I always have that here. I think just the fact that it's been here has kind of been a constant reminder of his struggle with sobriety and really pushing for bettering himself, and just given the opportunity that I'm still here and kicking, I just want to value my life a little bit more, and rather than just diving in so deep. I do struggle with what to do sober, because I just really sort of had a long recreational history with drugs, and just loved them, and I loved all the experiences and valued them. And I do think a lot of times, they did bring me a lot of happiness and a lot of great experiences and stuff, but at times, and other times they were just a problem. And I just kind of find more steady me, even if I'm maybe a little bit more boring, but I'm definitely
oh my God.
on the path. You know,
it's not interesting how we think that's just, it's horrible that we think those that way, but I do understand that. So speaking of which, like what have you supplemented, or what have you brought into your life that maybe you didn't have before, that now, you know, being sober? Is there anything, any, I don't know, hobbies or anything that you've kind of started doing that you didn't do before? Anything that you've tried that you didn't try before?
Yeah, let's see. Sketching a lot more than normal. It's also, my sketching's improved quite a bit. I'm definitely can bang out a collection pretty fast in sketching form, obviously, but
right.
The garments obviously take much longer, but let's see, I'm just doing a ton of bike riding, and I've just sort of been focused on my health. I'm meditating for the first time in my life, because I'm ADD and dyslexic as well.
Yep.
And that's all very difficult, but I'm pulling that off. And I don't know, I've always been very domestic. I'm just digging into domestication at the moment, because just hibernating from stuff. But there's not a lot of new in my life right now, aside from, you know, sobriety's pretty fucking massive.
Oh, absolutely.
Huge.
You know, I've never, you know, I went out with some friends, got annihilated, and it was my first opportunity to look at, you know, I never saw them in that light before. And I was always right there with them. And, you know, I was out with a couple sober people, and it was a little bit like, people are staring and you guys are a little much. And like, just the thought of like, you know, that was my normal weekend, always. Just kind of want to like not be so hungover all the time, you know, partying so hard, and just kind of like grow up a bit. So that's my biggest thing, and it's just been very consuming. So, and it's something I'm very proud of, and it might not seem like you know, it's not a lot new aside from that, but it's been the hardest thing I've ever done. So
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And, you know, I think, again, being queer myself, I think there's still such a stereotype, and I think it's better maybe in this Gen Z population with a lot more freedom of speech and entertainment or media outputs. But, you know, growing up in the early 90s, which again might be different than growing up in the mid 70s. I mean, I've always been non-seen. I've always had an addictive personality, and therefore chose not to trigger that part of it through substance usage. Thankfully, I never got that bit. But had I, or if I felt I needed to belong in my community and in environments where other queer men or gay men cultivate, I don't know what my life would have been like. I also kind of, so on the extreme to extreme, I kind of feel like I've missed out on some of those things, regardless of how they may have been impacted in my life otherwise. Because I kind of feel like I never fit in with the gay community or felt in with the queer environment. And I live in Vancouver. Vancouver is a lot smaller than Manhattan or Brooklyn. Like, it's a lot smaller, but it's still a very prominent queer community in Canada and in the West Coast of Canada for sure, like compared to San Francisco. So I think your stories are really inspiring, because what I wanted to really dive into, a couple things. Let's dive in, if you're willing to chat about it. And I like to give this as a preface. We don't care, quote unquote, about like drama or details or gossip. Like, that's not why we ask these types of questions. But I'm curious about, how did you discover Project Runway, and what inspired you to be on the show, and what did you experience as a designer, as a human? Just your experience about that, because I'm sure there must have been a lot of reflections from it.
Well, like, I had debated doing the show for quite some time, and they honestly had reached out, because, you know, they do casting and they do look for people. And I said no for 7 or 8 seasons.
Wow.
I have severe social anxiety, and I am really awkward on camera, and I'm very fidgety, you know, and very shy in pictures and video especially. So it was always kind of a no. And then, you know, my partner was saying, you know, you really need this. I knew you could win it. And I always thought I could win it, but I just didn't know if I could physically deal with the mental stress. And I knew I would be just crumbling under the anxiety and everything. So he actually ended up talking me into doing it.
Okay.
And I just kind of did it and got it together and went and showed up, and you know, it was much more challenging, and I had way more anxiety than I've probably ever had in my life, like consistently. Because normally with a panic attack, you know, there's a spike and then you come down. It was pretty constant. You know, the show has really rigorous hours and a lot of demand as far as what it takes out of you. And then like as a designer, when somebody asks you to like sketch in front of them, like a client's like, oh, can you maybe add a coat to this? And you're like, yeah, well, tomorrow, right, like I'll get it back to you later. And or like, you know, but like on the show, it's not just like someone watching, it's like all of everyone's watching, and there's cameras and they're trying to film your mess ups. I mean, as your good things, they're trying to capture all the moments, right? So that's like you changing a sketch. That's like you know, trying to perform on cue on camera is probably the most challenging thing for someone in my shoes, or any artist really, to pull off. And so that was by far the most like challenging moment. I just really had to find it in myself to kind of like take a mental zen place of just like pretend that the camera's like a lamp and the cameraman's just some jerk trying to fix it or something, you know, like it's just a broken lamp, like ignore it or something, and just keep going. And just keep telling myself like I can do this, you know.
I was going to ask you how you got through that, because someone like myself who deals with anxiety and panic attacks, like I don't know how, and because the thing is too, I don't know what it was like when you were filming or prior to what you had to go through, but I know a lot of these reality TV shows, like they make you go through almost like a psychological testing. No, do they? Yeah. So I'm curious about that. Like, how did that go?
That went okay. You know, I was as truthful as I felt I needed to be.
And
it was fine. I mean, I knew I would be really good television. It's just, it was scary about what they were going to air. And they left out some really dark moments of mine that, you know, I'm thankful that they left out, just of some breakdowns and stuff that I was going to really feel. It was just, it's some really dark moments for me. And so I was blessed that they did that. They didn't really, you know, I felt they did a good job editing people to their personalities, but I was also thankful that they kind of left out a couple moments that I felt like medically was unfair. So I, you know, but you don't know or see what they're going to do until it airs. So the like viewing parties are terrifying, because you're like, oh my God. And you have all of your friends and family all watching everywhere, and you have no idea, like, are they going to show that thing, or are they going to like, what's the edit going to look like? What did my piece actually look like? Because I haven't seen any of it in so long. And, you know, it was a lot. It just took a lot of like belief in myself. And I think that show, a lot of social anxiety because of self-esteem, and like Nishan, my ex, always told me that like, you're so awkward, but that's why you're so sexy. And I was like, what are you talking about? No one's sexy because they're awkward. You're being a jerk. And then he was like, no, trust me. It's like he would always try to shoot videos of me when I'm not looking. And he said, that's when you're the sexiest, or when you don't think anybody's looking, or he'll take a picture. And the show blessed me with the fact of giving my self-esteem, because I realized that when I'm really unfiltered and have no idea that cameras are around anymore, that's truly like when I shine, and when I'm the sexiest, and when I'm cute, and that my vulnerable sides actually like is what's attractive about me. And yes, that's awkward, but I think everybody has this preconceived notion of what is attractive. And so I think everybody kind of gears themselves towards something unachievable, because what's most attractive is you being yourself. You know, and being confident in yourself, and just being whoever. Like, I didn't fucking care what anyone thought of me. I was gonna win this shit. Like, I didn't care about anything, you know. I just wanted to eat okay because I was on a weird diet. I wanted to do my push-ups and pull-ups because I wanted to look okay. and I just wanted everybody to just leave me alone, you know. I tried to stay drama-free and just get it all done. But it was just, you know, I was in there to do one thing, and it was just win. So, you know, and working out definitely helps. Like, we couldn't work out on the show and stuff, so I just had to do push-ups, and they let me bring a pull-up bar, and that was kind of an mental health moment, was like staying on a diet so I wouldn't, because I naturally have a big gut because I'm an older guy, and I just do, so I have to like do a lot diet-wise to kind of keep that off, especially if I'm not working out. And it's all that self-esteem stuff. But I, you know, when I turned 40, I got my body together, and I just wanted to hang on to that during the show and not just go from looking okay to like being gross at the end of it all. So, or what I, you know, and, but yeah, the show made me feel very good about meeting myself for the first time, which I don't think a lot of people get to do in this world. Like, you know, hear your laugh unfiltered, see all the looks you give people when you don't think anybody's watching and they're zooming in on your face or whatever, you know. So it was nice because I'm way less shy now. And also, I think I was also shy from my medication all these years. And starting to come out of that, like when I'm in public now, I mean, I don't like public, I don't love people that much, but like even at the gym, I don't care if, like, I was dancing at the gym the other day and I was like, oh my God, like, since when did I ever think that, like, I'm worried at the gym. I think people are looking at me, I'm supposed to be working out. I don't know. And I just don't really care. It's kind of amplifying this, like, I'm just more confident in myself and a little less shy. And this is not the direction I thought it would go. I thought it'd be like grabbing for my Xanax all the time. And a doctor friend of mine said that my panic attacks may have been self-induced from prolonged drug use.
Interesting.
Because drugs operate different for everybody, and over time they change. Your body's chemistry changes. Things you should have been on, you don't need to be anymore, and your body recovers things, and things that you had emotional problems with, you've somehow gotten over, but you're hanging on to the drug, or it's just complicated. Bodies are weird. There's a lot going on medically and psychologically that people just aren't able to connect or meet the right people that can help them kind of pull things apart and make sure that everything's right. You know, like Hero saying, like, you know, he found his dosage that's good, and it was like half of what it was, and he did give it a shot, and he found the spot that's good for him. But it's always good to check in. Like that heart medicine I was supposed to be on for life, it's like, you know, 2 years after, see a different doctor of not taking it, and then, you know, it's just fine. And it's just kind of, and then recreational drugs too are just optional. But it's like when you're fighting with depression and are a manic depressive person, it's important to do what you can to just fight for staying alive, you know. So
absolutely.
Absolutely. It's also tough because I think that what ends up happening too is we start to distrust the maybe the medical community, or stop trusting, you know, because one medication, it's not a one size fits all situation with anybody. And so, you know, as we go through this journey, and if you're, you know, going through Western medicine, Eastern medicine, like, you know, whatever it is, it's what's right for you and your body. So, you know, that's why, like, you know, getting those multiple opinions is okay. It's okay. Like, and people have to realize that you don't just take things for face value. Like, it's okay to question things. And now more than ever, I think it is accepted that we can do those things. Like, what's really interesting is I still find my GP and my naturopath, they kind of work together, but they're still like butting heads. And I'm like, come on guys, like, get with the program. Like, why can't we all just work together in this, you know, because that's the only way I think that's really going to help or work with. It's crazy to me still that after all this time, the West and the East, like those kinds of, you know, ways of doing things are still like.
I just went to a foot doctor last week, and you have feet problems because they just hurt constantly. I stand on my feet, always have. I mean, constantly. And
I used to be all fours, you know, on all fours.
On the week. I sleep standing.
But but yeah, I went to, and I was like, you know, isn't there like a cream or something I could use? I've been using like Voltaren. It's just like an aspirin cream or whatever.
Yeah,
and she was just like, well, I don't believe in any medicine. I was like, okay, but you are a doctor, right? And she's like, well, yes, but like I would just say soak your feet. And I'm like, but I'm asking like I was like, I'm, you know, newly sober. I'm not looking for anything to like be on or whatever, but I'm just saying when there's a crippling problem and I need to keep going and I can't and I'm limping.
Yeah.
What should I do? And she's just like, I would just soak them. And I'm like, okay. So I went to a different doctor to get some insoles for my shoes or whatever, because I'm at that age that I need insoles. And you know, he's like, oh, you saw her. Okay. And I was like, well, like, I'm not looking for anything irrational. I was just like, what would you suggest? And he's like, but I'm not your doctor and I don't know. But if you gave me advice with what's wrong, I told him what was wrong, you know, and he was like, well, you could ask your primary for, you know, this type of steroid for a spot treatment for when the issues flare up. And I was like, thank you, you know, and it's like, I don't want anything to be on. I'm looking for a solution, but like, why is it nothing or like something for life or, you know, soak your feet? Oh, God, it's like, I just want, I'm looking for like something to believe in with the medical field. I just think a lot of doctors are like, when I was told my doctor everything that I came off, and the nurse kind of overheard, and then she was doing some blood work on me, and she whispers in my ear, and she sat really close to me, and she goes, just so you know, all the doctors here get all payoffs for putting you on stuff. Like, I've always known that or whatever, but she's like, it's everything. And she's like, and everybody wants you sick, so stay off of everything if you can, you know. And she was just like trying to give me words of encouragement. But when a nurse bends down and whispers in your ear that these people are all taking payoffs, I mean, I know that, but to hear it from the nurse in the place that she's just like, trust me, like they make money off of your sickness and making sure that you're filled with prescriptions, and then I'm just saying no to 20 different ones from my doctor, and I'm doing just fine. And I know, like, at the end of all of this, I might go back on something, you know, I don't know where I'll land, but so far so good. And every week is just better for me. And
day by day, week by week.
But I'm very pro drugs and figuring it out, but it's also just doing them smart and you know, and not just getting like lost in yourself and just not being complacent about like, okay, you know, to a doctor. It's like, it's the second opinions. It's also like, question the length of time you're taking something. Just question everything. No one's actually looking out for you in this world. You've got to look after yourself.
I think maybe Hero and I, being from the Jewish ancestry, even though we're very ishy Jews, we don't really practice, but but it's very much taught to question everything. Like there is a tradition. Oh my God, it's just like bitching and kvetching and asking fucking questions over and over and over and over again.
Constantly, to the end of it, to the nth degree.
And I think in Christianity, you're just kind of taught, like I was raised Christian, and just to just kind of fall in line.
That's true. Yeah.
Do your role, fall in line.
Sorry, go ahead, Hero, too.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, yes.
Sorry.
We're very Canadian, but like from understanding that too, though, I mean, like in Christianity, and I would say in parts of Catholicism, that is part of it, though. You know, you're told to just follow, like, the Lord is good and the higher power will guide you, and, you know, don't do anything. And if you're gay, then you're going to hell. Like all these very old wives kinds of tales, right? And then in Jewish culture, even in Orthodox Jewish culture, and I'm the least qualified to even give insight about that, it's definitely more permissive, or at least more inclusive, or at least more neutralizing, I would say. There isn't as much blatant like banishing to hell, or because Jews apparently don't even believe in heaven and hell, which I find interesting. It's not in the Jewish culture, for example. Christianity and Catholicism and other similar sects, there's a lot of that dialogue. There's a lot of that symbolism of this is good, this is bad. There's
guilt.
And Jewish guilt is not the same as Catholic guilt.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. And so when you have that, you constantly have that burden. I want to kind of take it back to when you were growing up, because you said you did move around a lot when you were growing up. So if you're comfortable to talk about more of your family dynamic, I didn't do that deep dive on your family background and all that.
My dad was the lieutenant colonel in the army, and he studied everything for the military for like astral projection and just a bunch of really weird stuff. So I was kind of raised like going to these weird seminars with like spoon bending and, energetic
Wow.
stuff. It was very cool.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, they were kind of like hippies when I was younger. We had the VW bus and the pop-up camper and the whole thing. And he's lieutenant colonel in the army. So and he lives in Vancouver. He didn't particularly, he has a new wife that he moved in with on Gabriella Island.
Wow.
But he and I didn't, he didn't like me really from second grade. He made that very clear that he still wanted a boy and all that stuff. And it was, my sister had a photographic memory, and she was a lot like him. So she could literally like skim a book and recite any of the pages and pull things up. I mean, just brilliant. Wow. And I was always like attention deficit and like dyslexic and can't quite get through it on school, crying all the time. And he had just had it with me. So there was like no competition growing up. I was always kind of just a failure from the beginning. And my mom was always great, hid a lot of stuff from him, and was always my biggest fan. And her and I got along great because she's pretty sensitive as well. But the dynamic was always just really skewed. And so I was really excited to find something I was good at in second grade, but also in second grade when I realized I was gay and that I really couldn't tell anybody. We were driving in San Francisco, and my grandma that I love dearly, my dad's mom and my mom were driving, and I was in the back of like a VW. It had a backpack in it. It wasn't the pop-up camper, but just a station wagon. And I was laying down in the back, and I popped up, and we're going down one of those windy hills, and there's two leather daddies. It must have been like on a Sunday morning. Whoa. Two leather daddies like holding hands, and I was like, Mom, what the fuck is that? What? There's two guys holding hands. And my grandma started to say something, and my mom slapped her, and like just on the shoulder or whatever. And I was like, but what were they doing? They were holding hands. And my grandma's like, come on, please, could I just tell them? And she's like, they're gay. And I was like, okay, but so they're happy, but like, why were they holding hands? And my grandma's like, oh, it's like gays when a man loves a man. And I was like, because I knew, I had known, but I had never heard that you could even do that, or that was ever a thing. And I was like, oh my God. My mom was like, oh my God, but that's disgusting and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God. So my grandma I knew was okay with it and kind of thought it was beautiful and just this normal thing. But I knew that my mom would like hate me if she ever knew. And she was like my number one fan. So it was very clear that like, this is something to be ashamed of, and you need to hide it, because if the woman that loves you won't love you anymore because of this, like you better tuck that so deep. And at that point I kind of knew or thought I was a really bad person and going to hell. And I just couldn't believe that this was happening to me, and that it's just like another strike against me in this world.
It's just it's fucked up that we go through as humans of all kinds, including in your generation and my generation. Rachel's like, and yourself and Rachel are closer generationally than I am, but even in this day and age, how much hatred and narrow-mindedness, how much bigotry, how much lack of knowledge people have, or the knowledge they think they have about what is really not the norm in terms of, well, you can be whoever the fuck you want, and it's okay to be whoever the fuck you want to be. But growing up in that generation, to be like, fuck, I'm just trying to be myself. And like yourself, I knew I was gay the moment literally I popped out of the womb. I knew it wasn't that kind of like, oh, I'm gay or I'm coming out. But obviously telling people I am this, I've realized this is when I found out, it's completely nerve-wracking. Even to this day, still in 2022, I walk around and feel like I don't really belong here. Even if I feel comfortable with my own skin, I don't belong in this society. Also being neurodivergent, having chronic anxiety of multiple forms, including social anxiety, anticipation anxiety, transition anxiety are huge, separation anxieties. You constantly are walking around trying to just keep your bubble big enough so that way you are not going to be harmed or attacked by the random elements around you. We go around as queer, neurodivergent men and with mental health as if like people think we're quote unquote normal, but they do not realize how much we go internally through to still show up and be presentable, not be questioned. It's so exhausting.
I have an interesting question actually for both of you perhaps actually. Do you feel in the LGBTQ plus community that being a gay white male is now almost seen as like, in an odd sense, almost like being the straight person of the LGBTQ plus community, because there's just so much, I mean, it's beautiful how diverse it is fantastic. But is there any, do you almost feel like less than, because I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does. I mean, I never really feel less than, but I mean, I know that white culture is super saturated, and like, I don't need, as a white man, I don't need to be fought for whatsoever. The world's already exhausted by that, but like, my gayness is still there. It's just a lot of people have like cause after cause piled on them with gender issues and racism and all of that. That there's people that just need a lot more help. And I as a white man in this world, I'm never really, gay pride's this weekend, and that's great and all of the things, but like, I used to really be fighting for it. Now there's so many other things to fight for. I mean, there's gay rights are obviously very important. I just feel like we've come a really long way, but there's a myriad of other layers that are still so horrifyingly problematic that I feel like my cause as a white gay man has kind of diminished a bit, just because it's HIV's pretty much fixed, it's around, but there's meds and no one's dying anymore. And now there's monkeypox coming full force for the gay community out here.
What the heck?
Watch out, get vaccinated, get your smallpox. You can go to a health clinic and just say you were in contact, or have a friend, and you can get your vaccine. You just have to say that. And I would suggest anyone gay that goes anywhere, takes their shirt off, goes and gets one, because you're gonna end up with monkeypox.
It's wild how that, I mean, when the first time I saw the headline for, I'm thinking, here we go again, here's something else going on. And it's really, really frustrating, and as you were saying, as a gay, because Rachel, to answer your question, Rachel, I don't think Rachel has ever asked that question to me at all in my life. So that's actually new for both of us in this moment. I honestly felt, as a white cisgendered male and gay, I think there are certain privileges that are unspoken, maybe privileges that I'm aware of or not even aware of. But I feel that's overshadowed and very much diminished from being neurodivergent and being Jewish and being severely mentally challenged with anxiety primarily, but other forms of obsessive tendencies or things like that, and PTSD and depression, and also going through sibling loss at 13, lost my brother to cancer from that length of my time, so 17 years now. So growing up with all those dispositions and then intergenerational trauma, which Rachel and myself do connect to, because we have both lost grandparents in the Holocaust.
We didn't lose. Well, they were survivors.
Sorry,
we lost them in the Holocaust, but we lost
my bad. They were survivors.
Family in the Holocaust.
Survivors. That's interesting that I usually don't misquote that. So thank you for correcting
that's okay.
me. No, but having all those other things kind of stacked up on myself, and then as most would go through, being of someone that was overweight as a kid and still has that body dysmorphic mindset, especially in the queer community, I constantly have that feeling that I'm not worthy, that I'm not seen, felt, heard, accepted, or loved by the general population. Not that I want to be, to clarify. And then being someone that as well, I feel a lot of that in the professional world, I would say. I think in my own personal life, I feel very comfortable with the networks that I have and the friends I've conjured and the people that I meet. Because like yourself, I mean, the more that I get older, the more I feel comfortable in who I am, and being very unapologetic about it, and not feeling discriminated for it if others don't feel the same way about me that I do about myself. But when it comes to professional settings, Rachel and I both met through the yoga industry. Like, my full-time occupation pre-COVID was teaching 15 to 20 yoga, spin, and Pilates classes in a group drop-in setting environment like studios, community centers, and so forth. And then I had background in retail growing up with fashion and all that stuff too. And so when that push came to shove, I basically lost my entire career history. I lost my entire career future over the last 2 years. And that going back and applying for work, interviewing with corporate environments, people that are very square and that want a certain cookie cutter, that's where I really started to feel that grief and depression about being neurodivergent, being very authentic and outspoken, being very individual, and knowing myself so well, where my limitations are, and knowing how to communicate those, even if that might minimize opportunity, because eventually the opportunity would be taken away anyhow, because it wouldn't have been the right alignment. That's where I'm feeling really challenged. And as you could speak to as well, even though I might be cisgendered and I'm not non-binary, what I wear or what I shop or what I do for clothing, I never look at clothing as gendered or as marketed to online e-commerce or Google searching or analytics and how people categorize gender and silhouettes. That for me, I feel challenged by working in a retail setting or talking to people about that and them not fully getting it or understanding the importance of clothing being inclusive for all people and all bodies. And especially on a non-e-commerce, like an in-store brick and mortar, that clothing does not need to be gendered as long as the education, the language, and the descriptions and the right modeling is there, I guess. That's where it's a long answer, but that's where I feel really discriminated. Like I don't feel I have much privilege by being a white cisgender gay male, because I feel that people look at me for all these other things that I try not to draw to myself, but to make aware so they can help me help them.
That's actually a good segue, even because I'm just being mindful at the time too, because I know you've got to hop off pretty soon here, but I kind of I feel like I could talk to you forever, but I feel like it's a good segue into just mentioning, you know, what the future holds, because you're talking about, you know, maybe clothing not having a gender applied to it and those kinds of things. Do you see that happening, Geoffrey? Are you?
Definitely. We've always done uniseason, and pieces have always sort of been unisex, where there's the men's stuff, when it fits a woman, we definitely encourage it, and vice versa. Our women's wear tends to not translate so well on a male body. It's been very shapeful. Newer collection has a lot more adjustable shapes without busts all built into stuff, where a lot of stuff kind of had that in the past, or really like bodycon and more form-fitting. And so but all of our menswear has always fit women pretty well when the size is right. And same with the current collection coming up. I would say we're shooting about 75% of the men's stuff on women, as well as men as well. And cool. Definitely putting men in as much as possible. But we've always tried to steer clear of doing seasons, and then all of our women's wear has always been a touch masculine, and then our men's wear has always had a bit of a feminine flair. But the overall vibe of my design is always a little bit more masculine, more badass, and which just lends itself to a little bit more of a masculine vibe rather than super feminine, either gender. But
totally.
Although I saw, oh my God, this was probably from like almost 10 years ago. There was a dress I saw, a latex, like form-fitted silver, like fucking hot ass dress that I just really wanted. That's from one of your collections. So I love the form-fitting sexiness for the curves is always quite amazing. But if maybe just tell us as we kind of wrap up here, what do you got going on now? What are you excited about? That's come out, new collections coming out soon, and
new collection. It's we're bringing back women's. Last collection was all menswear and kind of more evening, and we're kind of returning to the norm of, we've got a couple suits for men, but generally hitting a bit more of a casual, more wearable vibe. All of our stuff's always future forward, so we're kind of taking that a bit, but our palettes, over the years, my palettes drowned out a bit and went from, in 99, it was all like primaries and tons of color. And now I'm kind of like feeling a little bit more somber palettes. And I just think the designs kind of sit a little better that way, because I like a heavy-handed design. And so just a little bit more of the somber palette helps with that. I'm just excited about it. I think it's very, very wearable, and I'm excited. So,
all I can say is that when I saw, again, when you came on and you said like I'm a menswear focused avant-garde designer, very future forward, like for me, those were all my inspirations as a teenager, wanting to go into being a fashion designer and doing all these other elements of menswear, like anything that made me look like an anime character, a video game character from my favorite franchise, made me feel like that anything was possible. I mean, and then of course I'm looking at, which is fair, I'm looking at the cost to invest in those pieces which are worth the money, but I just don't have the means to afford it. When I saw you on Project Runway, and I'm like, this dude, I would wear this guy's, all of this guy's stuff, because one, obviously their story, but two, that's their aesthetic that I fit. Like if I could that fantasy, that would be my lifestyle. So I know there's a place always for your designs, and I'm glad the world sees your place for it, because we need more of your inspiration to inspire other people to be themselves.
Thank you.
Of course.
100%.
Of course.
Thank you so much for just outpouring you. I mean, this is honestly been one of the most, like, I guess, unfiltered, unapologetic, raw episodes we've had in a while. So I really appreciate you, and you're sweet.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited that I never thought this was a corner that I could turn, and I owe it all to a specific friend that kind of opened my eyes to at least the reality of what was me, which I couldn't see on my own. And I was just staying the course with my own stubbornness. And it's good to be flexible in this world and listen to other people and take an outside perspective of yourself when you can, and just try to see it through other people's eyes. Because like I said, when I went out with some friends, I got to kind of see what I looked like out and was up to. It was not at all what I thought it was.
Yeah. And I also want to say, I think I said this to you when we were corresponding, if I could give you a huge hug right now, I would. Like that's that's what I want to be able to just, like, I just want to give this person a hug.
I know. I keep like leaning forward. I'm like, am I going to get there?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's that feeling that, the world, you're not alone. When you find your people, you're not alone, right? And I think there's that feeling of, and we've been doing this podcast for almost 2 years as of September. We've talked to some pretty incredible folks we would never think that might be available or interested in connecting with people like us. So again, it's another reminder that the world is not so small, and in that way, or not so big, I guess. And then there are people that are really real people, and what you hope for is like exactly what your intuition is saying, and you fit that mold completely, which is no mold. So we really are excited for your future and hope to keep contact with you, and I'm forever grateful to be able to connect with you.
Yeah, you guys too, very beautiful people, so I really appreciate the chance to chat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy to chat time. Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, okay. and I'm due for a trip out to New York for
I have family in Manhattan.
Longest time. I've got so many people I know there.
Well, keep me posted. Oh, and I used to have your lamp back there.
This one?
That one?
Yep.
That's awesome.
When I moved to New York, I had to get rid of it because of the space issue, but I left it.
Oh man,
amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely
love it.
Definitely from the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Geoffrey, my cousin Emily lives in Brooklyn, and my aunt and uncle live in Manhattan, just by Greenwich on 5th and 10th. So I definitely am due for a visit there too. So I'll definitely let you know when I'm in town.
Definitely hit me up. Let me know.
Sure.
And I'll hit you guys up if I'm in Vancouver.
Yes, please do.
Won't stop. Sorry.
We'll let you go. I know you got something coming up. So
yes.
Get it? Oh, it's on my phone. There we go. Okay. Alerts on everything.
I know. God, I know. Tell me about it.
But yeah, we'll let you go. We know you got
awesome.
some places to be. But keep touching. We'll be in touch.
Thank you guys so much. And definitely
thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will.
Right.
Thanks, Geoffrey.
Pleasure. Yeah. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye, love.
Bye.